Writing a historical romance was so much harder than I thought it was gonna be.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
I finished a feature-length script during January and February, so for a while I was back to focusing on my novel, TTDS. Something just hasn't been feeling right with this novel since November. I have a problem. I found out I was on track to hit 100K or more words on this novel, and that is not acceptable. It's way too many words for historical romance that doesn't focus on historical events. Yeah, it would have been overwritten even on the higher end for a romance. So I have to rewrite my outline and find places I can cut so that I can move forward. And that's where I'm at now, reworking the outline. When I decided I wasn't on course anymore, I dropped to 51,000. I'm still tracking myself on TrackBear, by the way, for data and basically just goal tracking purposes, because I fear that time doesn't exist in my world, but tracking gives me proof of time and effort on a project, so I just keep going. I can't work inside the house on days off, so I walked to my local cafes and sat outside of my apartment in the courtyard when I had time. By the way, I found out that Scrivener does two really cool things. You can set an image in compose mode and full screen your project to eliminate desktop distractions. Perfect for me, the distractible kind. In compose mode, the menu that pops up at the bottom when you hover has a focus mode. Focus solely on your selected sentence, line, or paragraph, which is kind of cool. I took a bunch of walks because they are helpful for me to kind of restructure this outline, even more so now that I have to figure out what to cut.
I feel like I don't want to rewrite my outline right now. I'm avoiding it so badly. I started a second outline by copying the original outline, and I'm gonna comb through it and take out excess and try to combine some of the chapters that I wrote. I think it'll help me stick to what needs to be written, and then anything extra I can just write if I want to, because I was overwriting by a lot. And I think I'm gonna take out a lot of what I set up so that it's revealed a lot more along the way and it holds the interest. Usually the midpoint of a romance is like, if she didn't like him before, midpoint is like, oh my god, I like this person. So I need that now, and I have the perfect scene. I just started on that scene. The one thing I do like about Scrivener is I can split screen a lot of things, and I can also pop out a window. I told my writing friends I wasn't going to clean up everything before, and I was just going to actually write to get through finishing the rest of the book this month. But I can't, I need to go back and know what I'm taking out so I know what I have to reveal coming up so that it's more like shocking for them. So that's why I want to do it now as opposed to later. I know they say don't edit, just write. In my case, it's so hard not to do it. So I'm gonna do it. And I'll tell you how it turns out.
I dragged scenes into my old scenes folder because you never know when you're going to need them. I rearranged a ton of chapters. I cleaned up the chapters to make it make sense with the new arrangements, which I feel pretty good about. And that led me to finally finishing my reworked outline. Okay, going into March, chef's kiss. I was back on track. I was writing words. I decided to give it one more month because I didn't get to wrap it up in April. Usually when I start a project in November, I finish it for the most part in November. And if I have to wrap up the ending, I go into December and I complete draft 0. The phenomena of a neurodivergent finishing in November their complete draft 0 is the month is a whole giant deadline. And usually I get really competitive and I ignore a lot of my tasks during November and I just get it done. This is the first project where I'm now 2 months in and still at the midpoint somehow. Even getting some words in at the end of April, for some reason, I was still not quite at the midpoint after shuffling everything around and making all those cuts. So now as I go into March, I'm just continuing to write. You guys, I did not think it could get worse further in, but ladies and humans, it has. I now think I need to cut more of the unnecessary storylines and details that just don't serve the story.
I'm having such a crisis over this book. I want to change it for like the 3rd time. I'm finding all these reasons why my book isn't aligning and it's running over like way too many words. I'm also figuring out as I listen to other audiobooks and really truly listen to them as if I'm from a writer's perspective instead of just an audience perspective, I'm starting to see that there are things that I'm missing, and now I feel like I want to rewrite the plot, take out a whole bunch of elements that I thought were going to be these new, different, interesting things about my own project for historical romance, and I don't know what to do. Do I use it for another book instead? But then it'll be so similar to the one that I'm writing currently. It's fitting because today I'm actually wearing my Don't Quit Your Daydream shirt, and I'm trying not to quit it, but honestly I need to move on to another project. What do? Do I keep doing what I'm doing and see what happens, or make it into a whole other plot and cut all of those words, which would actually make the book start to hit the right word count? I think I'm also kind of caught up on this, what is the norm for historical romance, because right now I'm kind of throwing in a lot of complex drama. I tend to do that in a lot of pieces that I write. Adds layer upon layer upon layer, and it's hard to scale back, and then suddenly I just like all these plot lines, but I don't know what to do. This book is becoming my hardest book to write, the hardest one that I've ever had to write. And this is my third manuscript. I thought it would be easier. Oh my God. What is wrong with me? I'm having like a mini breakdown over this.
So here I go, exploring the need to sadly cut more words, further delaying me finishing this draft. Look, I am not sure I'm making the right choice, but as an unpublished author, you know what? I've got flexibility to experiment. That means completely unauthorized changes for the sake of saving the story and potentially saving on rewrites. Yes, I know, I'm sort of front-loading the rewrites. And I expect every time I go into a new genre, something like this to come up, where it takes me longer than average to finish something because I've got to get the elements just right. I've got to learn and research how to write the right story for this genre. So I'm not going to be super bummed about this setback, but yeah, I'm super bummed. However, I spoke with some friends about this from my writers group, and honestly, this feels right. I want to make use of all my characters, so I'm gonna have to go back and again re-outline. This time taking out all of the excess story and characters so that I can just get to the meat of the story. There are just some storylines and details that really didn't cater to the story that I was trying to tell, streamlining my main plot and my B plot. So because I've made this huge weighty decision, I'm going to shelve the story until November. I'm going to keep you updated on this work in progress, so I hope your project is going smoother than mine. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for coming with me on this journey, Scribes. I will see you on the next one.